a lot of business owners and decision makers of privately owned mid-tier companies really want to grow the business and really want to be as productive and as profitable as possible, but sometimes they feel like they're just trying to bake the perfect cake without all the ingredients and often without a repeatable recipe. Well, what we do is we consult to these companies and we provide them with an elite strategy, and then we actually go ahead and help them implement various projects so that they can become a lot leaner, a lot stronger, and a lot more productive.
The evolution of the management consulting industry, to be honest, hasn't changed too much. We still do consulting today as we did 30, 40 years ago. That is to give advice and strategy, and that's about it. And one thing I've learned from business, from being involved in large companies to now helping large companies, is that strategy isn't enough. You need to be able to implement. We wanted to take it all the way through. If we were going to give the advice and we were going to strategize with them, we wanted to be able to be there for them, to be able to change and to be able to implement all the things we discussed as a collective.
I wanted to share with you a story about my dad. He used to come home after work, usually having quite a severe back pain. You see, he used to work at a large painting company and in the warehouse, and they had to move large pallets and drums of paint, often 25 kilos heavy. Almost every 2 minutes is what was required of them. And then one day he was telling me the story how he, when he actually hurt his back finally, is he had to lift a gate up which was holding a really large drum that weighed about 225 kilos. He no longer could work, he was legally disabled from working. And as a livelihood, when he was the main breadwinner of our family, that really was hard on our family. Look at that, and I now realise that's what's probably caused me to start my business and found it when I did about 14 years ago. And the reason being is, if I look back, I go, surely that organisation could have done it better than what they did.
What we find is organisations are quite resistant to change, not because they don't want it, but because we find that they usually can't visualise it. So there's nothing more that we'd like to do than educate the market and help them have a visual of change. That also has been the biggest challenge though, because that's not easy to do. How do you get a message like that across to many organisations at one time? And that's what we've been working towards.
I thoughtfully crafted, I swapped all the address and phone down to the Junkeer email.
Once every quarter we run an invitation-only lunch, and we invite discerning members of the community to come and, number one, meet each other so they can actually connect with like-minded peers, but number two, to actually solve problems either through expert panels that we invite to present and through roundtable discussions. I was heavily influenced by all the injustice that I saw growing up in the thick of racist apartheid South Africa. And lucky for me, I had two very progressive and liberal parents that taught me that that was really wrong. One of the most memorable moments I have in my lifetime is standing on the beach, holding hands with my godmother, a black lady called Christina, after the fall of apartheid. Because you see, as a kid, when she came with us down to the coast at Durban, she wasn't allowed on the beach because there were these big signs everywhere saying whites only. And there we were, standing on the beach, holding hands as equals. And I couldn't help but think, what could life have been like? What could the country have been like if the transformation that occurred had happened quicker? And that makes me think now, what's possible if we as people and businesses transform quicker?
The most memorable milestone we've achieved recently is winning the Australian Business Award for Process Improvement. Also, when I personally was a finalist for Femtech Leader of the Year. So if I was to encourage you to do one thing, that would be really look at not what your strategy is, but how you actually came up with that strategy. I have a really simple model that will help create uplift in all of these areas of the lens, and it's called the MPA model. It stands for measure, prioritize and act. And the reason we've picked those 3 words is because those are the 3 things most often people fail to do really well. First is measure. Simple in theory, but people just don't do it. Second is prioritize. Again, very easy to do, but not often done well in practice. The last one is act. The most difficult thing to do, but the most important thing to get right. If anything that you do, measure, yeah, prioritize, finally, please act.